Hi, I'm Jeremy, and one of my favorite games as a kid, back before I would have considered myself a gamer as a hobby, was always Racco. A lot of you have probably played this classic, but this was just basically a game where you would get a rack with 10 slots in it, and there'd be a deck of cards that I think numbered 1 to 100, and you would randomly put cards in there at the start of the game, and then each turn you would draw a numbered card. So the card would have a number on it, and you would try to assign it to replace another card in your rack with the goal of creating a situation where all of your cards from front to back ascended in order. The first person to do that would be the winner. So that was a simple game. I really thought, I actually thought I was really strategic and great at it when I was a kid, but it's always been a game that I liked among, classic games. So today I wanted to show you a game that I think takes the basic concepts of Racco and improves upon them, and that is Completto. This is a new game that's been published by Schmidt-Spiele, and it's rather presumptively put in their classic line. I don't think that there was an earlier version of this, but it certainly plays and feels like a classic. I'm going to take a moment to explain the rules to you, and then I will come back and give you my thoughts on the game. Okay, so here we see the game components for a game of Completto, and each player is just going to begin with a stack of 17 tiles that they would form into one single line in front of them. Just for the sake of framing, I've divided that into 2 lines, but the line would start at one end and work all the way to the other. And then each player, one at a time, would pick a tile, flip it up, and then determine where in that line they might want to place it, with the idea being that they want to, at the end of the game, have their tiles arranged from lowest to highest as they move along the line. So a 63, I might, for example, move and place in here. I have to draw a second one. A 75 would go after 63, obviously, so maybe I would put that there. 3. And this one, you'll notice it looks like a 16, but if we rotated it, it would be a 91. You could use those tiles that could freely rotate as either number. So I might, for example, choose it as a 91 and place it here. So that'd be 3 tiles. My 4th tile, 78, that's pretty close to 75. Maybe I'll just place it here right next to my 75. And for my last tile, I have a 69, which is 69 either way. And that would probably want to go somewhere like that. So at the start of the game, each player will have 5 tiles face up in the row of now 22 tiles, and they will want to be the first person to get them all in order. So on your turn, you could do one of 2 simple things. First of all, you could draw a tile from the board, from the center of the board. If it's already face down, you could flip it face over, and then you could place it in your row. So for example, I could put it here. You would only be able to place it if you had blank spaces, because you have to then send the blank tile back. So for example, this was like this. I have to actually do that, replace it with the blank tile, and the blank tile, without getting flipped face up, goes back into the center of the row. Here I got extremely lucky, actually, and I got a 91, 92. If ever you create a sequence with the tile that you place, so you create a chain of 2 or more, you immediately would get a free turn. So on my next turn, I might want to draw another tile. Here I've gotten a 61 or a 19. I would probably choose to replace this tile and put that there. So that would end my turn. Now it would just go on to the next player, who would be able to do one of either that action or the second action, which is, let's say that I realize that I've not left a gap between these 2 numbers and I want to have a gap there. I could take another face down tile without looking at it from anywhere on my line and add that there to create a space between 2 numbers. And that would take my entire turn as if I had just drawn a tile. So this will just keep continuing with players drawing tiles, replacing tiles, and so on, until one player, this could be an 89, so we'll put that there, until one player has their entire row complete. The first player to do that will win. You can either play it with 1 round, where there'll just be 1 winner at the end of the round, or you could play that over a number of rounds. You determine a number of rounds to play, and each tile that's still face down at the end of your turn will be negative points, and you just tally those up over the number of rounds. The one with the fewest number of negative points at the end of all of your rounds will be the winner. And just to be clear, if I drew a tile that I was not able to place, so for example this 94, I do not have a tile that I could slide out at the end of my chain, I would have to place that back into the center of the table face up, so it would be free for other players to take. That's why you always want to make sure that you rearrange your area so any gaps would be filled in for potential tiles that you might draw. I just want to make sure that I had that rule completely explained. Okay, so that is Completto, and this is a terrific game. It's one of those games that looks super unassuming and like there's nothing there at all in the rules when you first start to play it, but then you realize that there are strategic decisions to be made. I mean, I don't want to oversell this as some grand strategy game. It is definitely a game that you could play while socializing with family or with friends who don't generally play a lot of games. It does feel like in the vein of a lot of traditional card games or classic games such as Racco. But there are small tweaks on the formula that make it more interesting. Always having to, whenever you draw a tile, you either take it or you leave it in the center so other people will have a chance at it. Makes that a risky proposition to leave closed gaps in your line. So you're always going to spend more turns than you might think at the start of the game to rearrange tiles so that you have as few of those gaps as possible. Also, I think that the game plays really smoothly. It's takes a moment or two to just explain the rules. The objective's immediately clear to every player who's going to be at the table. It's one of those ideas that's so simple that you would think that somebody would have thought of it before. And I guess since Racco does exist, somebody kind of did. But this does improve that formula. This game is it's published in Germany right now, I believe, but it is an international edition, so it does come with English rules. And the only components are those obviously language independent number tiles. Just those 100 tiles are the only component you're going to need. I think that this is a game that has a real big chance of catching on if it gets a bit more buzz, or if it gets nominated for one of the Family Game of the Year awards. I could easily see this being something that's regularly played and becomes a classic line, as the box would suggest. But even if it doesn't, I've had fun with it, and I think that most players would as well if they're looking for a light filler game or something that they could play socially. So that is Completto, and those are my thoughts on it, and thank you for watching.